Greetings and welcome back to the Divest series of the American Food and Consumer System. So we're going to jump right into reading a few labels to help you understand that it's not about the item that we might be consuming, it's about the ingredients. And we want to elevate our frequency when it comes to the ingredients that we have going into our systems and what we're checking before we interact or give our earth dollars up for some product. So we have a few things that have been flowing out of our refrigerator, our pantry, to be able to elevate to saying no more to that, no thank you, and then coming up with something else. So this is Frank's Red Hot. It honestly isn't too bad. However, what I point to most is checking if the ingredients contain water. We want to be really cautious about that particular ingredient, water, because we don't know anything about where that water came from, if that's generic tap water, if there's other chemicals put in it to purify it or cleanse it. We don't know if it's filtered, distilled, what kind of water it is. So in Frank's Red Hot Original Cayenne Pepper Sauce, the ingredients are aged cayenne red peppers. That doesn't say organic, so we gotta look at that. There's distilled vinegar, so that's okay. Some of us are sensitive to vinegars, so we want to be watching out for that too. Water, salt, and garlic powder. Not organic, and we don't know where the salt is. We are looking to be discerning about where our salt is coming from, especially if it's in a processed ingredient. Because honestly, if you look at the ingredients, you can make this yourself, y'all. We can make our own sauces, our own hot sauce. Like you've got cayenne pepper, vinegar, water, salt, and garlic powder. Mix those up, or better yet, roast yourself some garlic, roast yourself some red peppers, and then blend those up together with the vinegar, like a mustard or anything like that. Recipes are coming, so stay tuned. However, it's just, if you're looking to be supportive of your family or be able to take care of things and create meals, and you're gonna look to buy something in bulk, that's up to you where you're at in your journey. I just encourage you to look at the labels and pick the highest frequency one of them. If all of them have water in it and you're like, we need hot sauce, then choose the one that has the best ingredients. Looking for organic first and then moving forward. No artificial flavors, no natural flavors. That's really what you want to cut out. So then if you're going to have an adult beverage with alcohol in it, this is a Bloody Mary mix that, it is okay at the time. However, as I look at the ingredients now, it'd be a no for me. You've got water as the first ingredient. It's kind of problematic because you could always add your own water, right, to dilute whatever the flavor is. Tomato, not organic. Sugar, just plain sugar. And in here, there's 28 servings. One serving is a tablespoon. I don't know if a lot of us have just one tablespoon. However, for every tablespoon, there is less than a gram of added sugar. So probably about a gram of added sugar if it's at the third ingredient around by volume of water and tomato. So this is a tomato-based, sugar-based water syrup that has maltodextrin, which I don't think we want that in our diets anymore. Salt, we just talked about that. Citric acid, which is a lab-created mold to help stabilize a shelf system. We don't want that. Ascorbic acid, it's not great either. And then sodium benzenate. That is also a typical ingredient that we're moving away from. It's like a shelf stabilizer. it's just not naturally what our bodies want. So in something like this, I would say avoid. Uh, make your own tomato and celery salt and ingredients. Add it to your own creation versus relying on someone else's ability to mass produce. And then here we have some generic hot sauce. I won't say generic because this is probably a real brand. It just says product of China, store in a cold dry place, not labeled for individual resale. So this probably came from somewhere that had like multiple mass produced ones. And in that, there are no ingredients on this. So it would be a no and an avoid for me because you have no idea what's in it. And typically when it's mass produced, they're not organic ingredients and you don't know what kind of lab created chemicals are in there for shelf stabilization and preservatives. We just don't want that citric acid preservative shelf stabilizer. So it's a no. And then along with the sauces, like packaged sauces, this is soy sauce. No artificial preservatives added, yet because they're the individual wrapped ones, the ingredients say water, wheat, soybeans, salt, and alcohol. Alcohol? Okay, you don't know what that is. You don't know where your salts came from. Soybeans, we've talked about the soy industry being toxic and overdeveloped. Glyphosate, just challenges with GMO, genetically modified organisms, and the hybridization of what pure soy used to be into what it is now. And then water and wheat. So if you're sensitive to gluten, we've talked about gluten, we've talked about water, all of these things are a no, and it's packaged in an unknown package, which is probably plastic-based. It's also since 1645. So while I appreciate the company and their commitment to making a great product, their ingredients have changed and the quality of them is gotten worse. So there is a need to adapt with the times in there. And then these little bottles, chipotle sauce, chipotle pepper, not organic, distilled vinegar, not organic, water, salt, sugar, onion powder, garlic powder, spices, Tabasco brand pepper pulp, distilled vinegar, red pepper, and salt. It's just kind of like a no on Tabasco, right? And then the other Tabasco that I have here is distilled vinegar, jalapeno pepper, water, salt, cornstarch. We haven't talked about corn recently. I did miss that in the original video of kind of like a no. The corn industry is real tough on the gut, especially from the standpoint of being sprayed with glyphosate and just the GMO hybridization of corn to get it where it is now as a staple subsidized product within the American food industry to be basically like a cash crop of America so that farmers grow it and it's subsidized. That is a real root of the wheat, corn, soybean industry, the dairy, all of that. It's just become problematic. And then it says xanthan gum, no gums. Those can bind in the gut and just not be good. And then ascorbic acid to preserve freshness. So ascorbic acid is a preservative, and we don't need any preservatives in our bodies to have good regenerative collagen to keep us preserved. So those are no. And then as much as I love tea, I make our own herbal teas at home from what we grow in the garden in the yard. And I love a nice, fun tea, especially if it's got seasonal flavors and whatnot. So sometimes I get a little excited when I see a fun tea shop that's selling packaged teas, especially around the holiday time. However, as I got into this, it's sad because the flavors came into my awareness as a like a no, we're just not doing that anymore. And when I looked at all of these teas, they all had flavors in them. So it, like this one is eggnog flavor. That's gonna be a no, because I don't know what's in eggnog flavor. Nut flavor, orange flavor, plum flavor, and this one was more that it had white chocolate and candy cane. And that's kind of a no, because it's basically sugar, right? The other ones are so, like, kind of hurt my heart a little bit because those flavors don't really need to be in there for this tea to be wonderful, especially when they have something so sacred as calendula in them. Calendula is super healing, especially for those of us that are very sensitive in the respiratory department or the allergy department. And when you have other people's nuts, mold is a big issue. So with tea itself, it can mold if it's not dried properly or sealed properly long term. It doesn't last forever. And then you just don't know where these things came from. So I hope that helps on the reading labels of just really taking the intentional moment to go through your shopping experience, to pay attention to that one-time investment of energy, to look at it and say, this is a yes for my body, for my family, and my choices for eating. I don't have to think about it when I'm putting it in my body because I've checked the ingredients and I'm good with it. Or you take that off the shelf and you see natural flavors, citric and ascorbic acid, sodium benzenate, or anything that is like, no, water. Why are we paying for water when we don't know what that water is from? You look at that and you say, you know what? I'm going to be a good citizen to myself, a good steward of my body and my family's energy, and put that one back because it's not worth carrying that excess toxicity or taking the linear time it's going to require to process that out. So love, light, and blessings on our shared journey of label reading and elevating our frequency of what we are consuming. Bye-bye for now.